Welcome everyone to Tarot Journeys with Guy. How's everybody doing out there? So Trump in the last couple of days has announced his cabinet, and I think what we really see is a part of that deep state operation, that deep state war coming to the surface, right? And it really shows how years before, even in Trump's administration, some of these people started to switch sides. So a big one was Matt Gaetz being named or nominated for Attorney General, Tulsi Gabbard nominated for the Director of Intelligence. That definitely sends the media and the deep state up in arms. And then with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy appointed to the new Department of Government Effectiveness. Okay. So, and then there's things on Fox and various media places where they're talking about all of the things that are coming out with this already. And it's kind of mind-blowing, right? So that was an interesting one. A couple of really questionable people like Mark Rubio. There was another, what was it? He's an anchor or a host at Fox. But this is a media person, right? This is somebody that we, this suspect, right? But yet it kind of goes back in line with what we were talking about before with how things are moving ahead. Trump is picking these people on purpose in a lot of ways. I mean, it's this situation of putting the deep state into a reactive state rather than us being reactive to them. And this is what we're seeing, is that there's this massive reaction that's taking place, okay? Trump went and visited President Biden today at the White House, and it's so funny. I mean, it's the same with the media. What happened to President Trump being like Hitler or a Nazi or a fascist or the most evil person in the world or the person that's going to destroy democracy? What happened to that? Because what we saw at the White House was Joe Biden being very agreeable, welcoming him in. And like in the last reading we talked about, this is kind of what we're seeing. I think he wants to make a concession. He wants peace terms. Okay. And this is what we're dealing with. Some of these people, they will not surrender, some of these deep state guys. And so I think what Trump is actually doing, it's sort of like he's brought in all of these different factions together. And some of them have switched sides. And Elon Musk is one of these guys. And we have to kind of take everything to a certain degree at face value. And we have to kind of stay on that train that's moving us towards the inauguration, getting President Trump into office, right? Because the House, the Senate, it's all in favor of the Patriots right now. Now, cleaning out the swamp, that's another thing. And that's what I think we're seeing, is him and their attempt, Team Trump, to clean the deep state DC swamp. All over the world, this is a signal for the patriots in every single country that we have had to deal with the deep state captured scenario. It is the signal to move ahead, to move forward, but in the right way. Not in a way that plays into the deep states, the globalists' game plan, but more in the sense of restoring the freedoms and the democracy and the way of life that we are living, right? That's part of being in the Western nations, right? But yes, we're under attack, and I mean, this is a huge. This is still going on all over the world. I mean, this is what these guys are making their moves, right? So yeah, the scramble and watching these guys scramble is just, it's priceless, actually. So yeah, not to be concerned, but to be sort of more in the optimism and the hopefulness that comes with this, right? But yet we still need to act. There are things that still need to be done. We are going to move into a massive shift. We're going to watch how everything is going to kind of shift quite quickly, right? And that's what's good about this thing with Trump, is that he's proactive right off the bat, right? He's put out all of these posts and all of these different points that he's going to deal with education and the government and the deep state, and it's good, right? He's putting out his action plan, and they're going to accomplish some great feats. Now, with what's going on in the world and the woke mind virus, if you will, the indoctrination that the world has been through, those divisions there are still a lot of people that are not awakened. They probably won't, I'm not sure. But yet that's what we have to contend with, is the it's sort of like the rolling back of the brainwashing, of the indoctrination. And it's like the debriefing period, right? Some of these people are going to come over to our side in a lot of ways, or more to the point, see the light, right? To sort of recognize that a lot of what has been told to them has been lies, right? Especially from the leftist, Democrat, liberal side of things, right? Because all of these deep state captured places they're shaking in their boots. Like, so on the weekend was Remembrance Day in Canada and UK, I guess, but I guess in the States they call it Veterans Day. So we saw Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, in a commemoration, and it was the first PM from the UK to visit France for the Remembrance Day commemorations since Churchill. Okay, so in Macron and him, there's images of him and Macron, and that, like, Macron is the same thing. Keir Starmer is the same deal. These guys are they're total globalist puppets. Okay, same with Trudeau here. The guy, the coalition government in Germany is going to come apart, right? The same deal, like that, what's his name, Scholz. He is a complete deep stater, right? He's on shaky ground. In the Netherlands, they voted in the the PPV, the People's Party, the Freedom Party there, with Geert Wilders, but I don't know exactly what's going on there, but trying to establish a coalition. I think they did, but I'm not really sure, right? But it's like this effort of clearing out these globalists, right? And every step of the way in Europe, what we've been seeing is the attempt to make a step away from them, and the infrastructure of these globalists step in and stop it, right? So the dilemma with the migration issue and the attacks that are taking place on the people, all of the resources going towards this migration replacement policy and not towards their own people, and how much money people have to spend to maintain this type of system, right? Well, people need to wake up to it. And that's the thing about what's going on with the United States and with the Trump moving into office. It is a huge signal for us in the other parts of the world it's time, right? And it not to be backtracked or to like disappointed or disempowered, no matter what takes place, because we're in a situation, the ingrained globalists, these deep staters that are ingrained, aren't going to give up. So the whole time we're waiting for these guys, like, what's the other shoe that's going to drop with these guys? They're got something up their sleeve, right? But the thing is, right now, what we're dealing with is still the psychological operation, the information war of putting the deep state into a panic mode and scrambling them. They're on their last legs, okay? And that's the real truth of it, right? And so we have to see. We have to let things kind of unfold. In the last video, I talked about the deep state. I didn't mention the media. I always kind of associate the media with the intelligence community. Sean Hannity on Fox, guy was for years wearing a CIA pin. Guy's total CIA. I mean, all of them are. When Tucker Carlson went and talked to Putin, Putin was like, well, aren't you CIA? Yeah, at the Operation Mockingbird, right? So, but the media is a big part of it. The media are liars. The mainstream media, for the most part, are false, and they are losing. That's why independence and the independent online thing and the media from there, and just on all the different platforms and the streaming and all of that is having a bigger impact. They understand this now. That's why today you're watching CNN collapse, like people getting fired. The mainstream media is falling apart, but they have been a big component in the social engineering operation that's been taking place. It's a big part of the deep state apparatus. That's where a lot of this started to fall apart. And it goes back to the WikiLeaks and even before Snowden and all of these guys, but all of the different, and going back even farther back, right? But it's all building up to this, to what we're seeing, right? And it's good to see the Team Trump being extremely proactive. We can call these guys out. If some scenario happens, we're not done, right? And I trust, especially where Trump is directing himself, or directing us, and directing, I guess, the world in a way, directing the patriots. His plan is, I can back it. I like it. I've been waiting for decades for somebody to say the things, and somebody in a position of authority, in a position of power. Politicians are experts. I've been waiting for people to say this stuff, and he is one of the only people that has the gumption to do it. So, and that's mainly why I back it, because I've been recognizing the problems for a very long time, well before I even knew who Donald Trump was, right? Or even consider him as maybe even a politician, right? And so, yeah, it's just important to kind of stay on that track. Like they were saying, hold the line. Watch this movie unfold. It is a bit of a movie. These guys are unraveling. DC is in panic. Massive panic. And the hunters, or the hunters are becoming the hunted. It's real. It's a real deal, man. And so, and I don't, this thing of like this projection that Trump is there to ruin democracy and ruin, create like a fascist system. No, it's what the deep state was trying to create. And like you see these guys, like, what was it? Joy Reid was a big one. I think she got ousted. The View were another one. They're flipping out. They loved Trump in the beginning, and then when they realized that he was going to get, go for president, we hate this guy, but they were the ones calling him. I mean, Joe Biden was calling him the worst guy in history. So, and I mean, it should show us like how duplicitous and double crossing these people are. And yeah, I don't think Trump would have been so congenial if it wasn't so much at stake. Because honestly, like somebody like Joe Biden should be in prison probably. Yeah, he should be charged. I mean, all of them, all the way down, all the way to the Bushes. They should all be tried for treason and criminal activity, right? So, But yet, we'll see. That's up to the people in charge, right? Spiritually, though, right? This is the motion that we're moving towards, is sort of being able to heal some of the massive divisions, some of these long-standing divisions within humanity, like some of the religious divisions that we're seeing right now. That's not going to go away anytime soon, right? It has to be addressed. It has to be looked at. And all of this is definitely a part of that awakening, part of that moving into a new era, how people talk about different aspects of it. I always kind of refer to it as moving into the next zodiac age, or the next astrological age, which is the age of Aquarius, right? Which many of you are well aware of and accustomed to, right? And part of that, and like what we're experiencing, is a taste of it right now. It's like the orb, the shadow of that Aquarian age is on us right now. That's a preparation of moving into it. It's sort of like how you'll feel the energy of the full moon sometimes a few days before the full moon, and sometimes after, right? It's the same thing. We're experiencing that. And so Aquarius represents knowledge and the group, right? But from a balanced perspective, it is this group that recognizes the uniqueness of each individual and how each individual in their uniqueness makes the group. And that if you can't take the individual aspect out of it, it's needed. But the negative aspect, or the challenge around that, is throwing away the idea of the individual in lieu of the group or the collective. And it is this thing of like the individualism versus collectivism in some ways. I keep talking about these verses, right? But that's the kind of dualities we're dealing with, right? The Aquarian energy is about unity. It's also about revolution. It's about innovation, right? It's about high technology. It's about, like all the technology, communications, everything that we're seeing right now. It's an air sign, so it rules all of that, right? The internet, space travel, traveling around the globe, all the stuff that we're seeing, right? So we're getting a taste of it, because in a way it's going to still take quite a long period of time to actually move into that time period. And like in India with Vedic astrology, they have a certain kind of a measure, and there's Western astrology, they look at it in a different way, subtly, right? And there's all these different ancient calendars that basically have ended and have started over again, and they all kind of coalesce in a rough time period of a couple hundred years, right? So, and I think that's what we're experiencing, and that's a part of that awakening. So let's do a read. Let's take a look at these picks, I guess, a little bit. What do we need to know about what's happening, this deep state war, Trump winning, the Patriots winning? How are things going to shift in the world? Can we expect, and what do we need to be prepared for? Look at all the major arcanas. So who at home, when I flipped the Tower card, went, oh, the Tower? So the last time that came up, that was actually very significant to the Hurricane Milton that came around. And I didn't really read it that way. I didn't read it as a natural disaster. My mind was so hooked on the machinations of the deep state that, yeah, there's natural disasters. There's actual thing is they can manipulate those, right? And maneuver those kind of things. So this is almost like, this is like the black swan event that people are expecting. And that in some ways there's certain things outside of our control. The world itself is this, it's kind of like the same thing. It's like, it's all according to God's plan, not our plan, not anything else. It's right. And the world moves, right? Because we asked about the picks, we asked about the deep state, we asked about what like, what are these guys, kind of usual, right? And so it's almost like people are expecting a disaster. Like is even the same thing, like when Trump was naming, even like with Tulsi Gabbard, even Elon Musk, even when Elon Musk bought Twitter, I was like, oh no, right? Mark Rubio, oh no, here it comes. That's the disaster. Yeah, oh God, he put in another Pence. He's got another John Bolton with him. John Bolton was on CNN talking about how disastrous Matt Gaetz would be, and it's, all of this stuff, and it's sort of like, wow, you're Mr. Deep State himself going out. And it's actually kind of funny what Trump said about him. Just people were tripped out by that dude, because he is one of the weirdest looking, like, imagine how weird he acts, right? But he's so deep state, that guy. Okay, but I think that's what this is. It's like almost expecting some kind of scenario. They want to create like for instance, if World War III happens, this cabal, these puppet masters, whatever you want to call them, want to make it look like it's a natural disaster, that this conflict happens just out of nowhere, right? And so it's competing forces that are actually producing any kind of disaster right now. So it's like elements within their own thing, right? So what we're actually seeing is the actual falling of their tower. It's falling apart on them. They're losing their minds. They're trying to figure out why is it happening, right? And then on the other side of it, we're expecting more disasters, and that no. These guys aren't fully finished yet, right? So this is the 10 of Swords in the past with the cups, right? And the cup reversed, the Ace of Cups, it's sort of like the emptying is taking place, but they're not completely dead yet, right? There's still a lot to take place. And what they've got sort of in the making is a world event, a black swan event that is a contrived event. It's a false flag event. And we know this, right? And like, it's like people are waiting, like World War III, some dirty bomb or a nuclear bomb, or, another virus, or terrorist attack from all of these criminals and weirdos that we have let in across the border, right? That are deep state led in some ways, funded, right? So, and this, I think this is what this is talking about, because this is, what I picked up with was that there's things outside of our control. There's nothing that we can do about it, right? There are certain things like, there are certain things. We know this. We know what happens, right? And that's a part of the mystery of life. And we shouldn't be afraid of what the future will hold in lieu of knowing how things could unfold, right? And like, that's the thing. It was like, we're in dangerous times. We've been going through it for a while, right? And and I think what it is they've been a part of the psyop and the taking over of these operations and then piggybacking them has a lot to do with showing the people that are indoctrinated that Trump, like for instance, people like Trump aren't evil, to actually see that perspective. Like, we've needed to see things get bad enough in order for a forward motion. And I think that's what this is talking about, right? Because you got the King of Cups, the Four of Wands has a lot to do with conjoining, right? You see these two people, like it's a celebration, but it's like two perspectives coming together to make one that are two that are one, right? Like that kind of idea, right? Seeing eye to eye, Because yeah, this is always like when you see the tower like that, that's like something that comes out of nowhere. And that's what this has been like. The naming of all of these different people is just, it's come out of nowhere for a lot of us, for a lot of people, for a lot of people on the other side, a lot of the deep state, a lot of the media, a lot of this deep state controlled media. They're tripping. They're like, what? I didn't see this coming. Yeah, no, you didn't. Of course you didn't. We saw it coming. Like, yeah, him naming Matt Gaetz did not surprise me at all. Actually, I was like, yes. Whether I think you do a good job or I don't know if I care right now. Because man, look at the reaction that they're having, right? And who else would I guess it's like with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, right? They're tripping. They are going to expose how much waste and ineffective use of taxpayers' dollars, like how much of this has been going on. That, right? Like there was a couple of things. Like one of the things was X amount of money, like, for research on making monkeys transgender, like Fauci, right? That makes sense. I get why they're doing that research, right? But and I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Flights and taxis, and I mean, this is like what happened in Argentina, right? The Argentinian guy came in, the libertarian dude, Javier, what's his name? Javier Milei, and afuera, 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 afuera. He's out. They're out. Get him out. And he's like the image of him on the whiteboard, and he's like, ministry of this and a ministry of that. Out, gone, afuera. That's what we're going to see. And that's what we need to see. We need to see that in Canada. You need to see it in Europe. Like the EU needs to go. NATO needs to go. The United Nations needs to go. All of those, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, all of that needs to go. You don't need it, right? That's what we want to see. Anyway, that's funny stuff, right? So drop all expectations. Part of our spiritual lesson is to drop all expectation. That way you're not disappointed, right? So don't expect bad stuff. And don't feed into that negative energy of desiring a disaster, desiring our own elimination. How about desiring a better world? How about desiring a better system? How about desiring cleaning out the corruption and the criminality that is tainted our societies? How about that, right? That's I think, and that's what this is talking about, right? And not to panic, right? Like the high priestess reversed has a lot to do with, right? Because the high priestess, when she's in the right side up, she's the mirror of the inner silence. She's calm, cool, collect. She can be relied upon. She can be trusted. But when it's reversed, it's the opposite. It's like the little voice won't stop. The panic, the worry, the fear, I can feel it. And you have to first still the internal dialogue, take a deep breath, ground out the energy, breathe it in, breathe it out. Use the card, right? Like this card, all of the different symbols in there are very significant of accessing our spiritual side, but also on how to navigate negative emotion. Okay? And that's kind of what this is. Yeah, and they're freaking out. All of them freaking out. Oh, ooh, women, like all these women on like all these lefty shaving their heads like they're in a concentration camp, or having a romantic strike, that kind of thing. And it's like, some of these women freaking out that their rights are going to be taken away. What are you talking about? You have more rights now than you, like, nobody's going to be taking any rights away. What they're attempting to do is not put the situation where these trans teachers and these weirdos have say over people's children and reinstating parents' right to be in charge of their own children, right? And like this thing of like, and just, man, it's crazy. And like the thing with women's bodies and just their right to, right? They're not going to take any of that away. That's not what this is about. The infrastructure is set up like, man, they are utilizing it in such a negative and nasty way. It has to stop. Okay. But that's what we're talking about, right? Tripping out. And then, yeah, talking about how, it's going to be Trump that destroys the democracy, destroys the country, destroys the economy, all of that. And it's not working. Yeah, their plan has been completely foiled. So they will, even to the point of like what we saw with Hurricane Milton, some kind of disaster, and then using plausible deniability and gaslighting and being like, oh no, of course, we couldn't do that. What are you talking about? But thing is enough of us start to go in the direction that I'm talking about, in the direction that a lot of us are in, a lot of these people are going to come along with it, right? But yet we can't sit back. This isn't a time to we haven't fully won yet, right? It's not fully there, right? And if we sit back like what we've been doing for the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years, 70 years, but since the last 30 years, that's how they get away with it. That's totally how they get away with it. I remember in 94 when they signed the NAFTA agreement. That was actually one of a big wake-up call for me as a kid. They signed all of those agreements under everybody's noses. It was all done in closed doors. One day we woke up and it was like NAFTA was signed. And then all the manufacturing started to move out of North America. And now 30 years later, we see the results of it. We see what the point was, right? That's the thing is, when it happened, nobody said anything. In this province where I come from, it's always been a very conservative province, right? Some of our greatest leaders that have done the most for prosperity here, like Trump, have been heavily demified here. And I knew it then too. Problem is, nobody spoke up. Not enough people spoke up. Not enough people called them out. Not enough people had enough guts to take the hit and say, no, right? This is long in the making. Right? Okay, one more. Let's see. What else do we need to know? What other guidance will help us? And then I think we'll close her off. If you remember the 7 of Cups here, we get this card a lot. This is like clearing away the confusion, exactly like what I was just talking about. Balance needs to be restored in our worlds. Justice needs to be restored in our world. Everything has been thrown off balance, and like people's perceptions are twisted. A lot of what, like, especially like what I'm talking about with the indoctrination and the woke mind virus, we really see it, how things have been twisted, how some of these people think what is inherently bad is actually good and good is bad. That's what we're dealing with, and we need to restore that, right? And the confusion is purposely driven right now. This is one thing that we all know this, right? We talk about this all the time, right? But like part of the human challenge, right, is this thing of the desire state, our emotional state, how sometimes it conflicts with our higher state, but yet getting that in alignment is really key. And this card is interesting because out of the 7 cups of the illusions that are presented, there's one here, this shrouded figure is like the Holy Spirit, right? So, and that's like the true aim of the desire state. It is desiring divinity. It's desiring that spirit in life. And the distractions of our lower nature, that's part of its design, is to kind of keep us away from that higher aspect, right? So a lot of people, like for instance, a lot of people in Canada don't even really know. They don't even really know what they're working towards. They don't even know what they want. And I don't mean to fully generalize, but I don't really think too highly of what's going on in Canada right now, to be honest with you, and with Canadians, because a lot of them are appeasers. It's a lot of us. I should put myself in this category as well, right? Things have been twisted on their heads a lot of the time. A lot of people here don't realize that you're living in a communist state. Okay, like the mindset is very similar. There's this, like, I mean, we've all been experiencing the dumbing down, but there's this nullification of the spirit here, and you see it with people. People don't really do much here, right? Like they do. It's not fair to generalize because it's not everybody, but you can say that about a lot of Western places. You can say that about a lot of places in the States as well. It's going to shift. That's why I'm saying it's really important for the people that have awoken in some of these places to take responsibility for your awareness and speak your truth. Let it shine however it is supposed to shine, because you're going to watch. It's going to be miraculous, right? But it's like getting things back into balance, restoring justice, restoring actually like a sense of what is right and wrong. See, that's the thing. Like with the Marxist world, they have no moral ethos. They have no ethics, really. Their moral is around the revolution at all costs. So that means backstab your friend, kill your family, bomb, steal, commit any sin to get. That's their moral, right? That's why these guys have no qualms about doing some of the things that they do, right? That's the truth, right? So it's like restoring that and getting into that space, right? And so, yeah, like one of the things I've had to get used to, I do this with other people too, like when there's conflict, it's like, I understand that you're feeling upset right now about this circumstance or whatever, or something that was said to you, but is that really what's upsetting you? Is there something more? Like, what is really upsetting you? Right? Like, what's behind it? And I've had to get used to asking myself that. Driving is a good example. People road rage, right? And they get triggered really easy. But yeah, like when that happens, I've had to get used to asking, like, okay, yeah, like this guy giving you the finger or whatever it is, or cutting you off in traffic or whatever. Yeah, that's frustrated you. But the reason why you let it trigger you is because you're really upset about this, or you're stressed out about money, or you're right. Like there's, or, partnership is not doing as well as you want, or something, right? There's always something. And that's getting used to addressing what is the actual issue and not the surface of things, right? I mean, like with medical practice, the Western medical practice and like oleopathic medicine has all been surrounded around the surface, about dealing with the symptom and all surface level, and people have adjusted and are accordingly. And they will take the quick fix, they will take the pill. The pill is poisoned though, right? This is the thing, it's by design to kill you. This is what people are getting, right? And so they will look to somebody like, hey, wait a second, yeah, you've gotten by quite well without that. How did you do it? What was your technique? Right? Like how do I get onto that same vibration, that same path, right? And that's what we're talking about. Yeah, not to let the past scenarios really overshadow what's taking place now. fair weather patriots, man. Are you a sunshine patriot? Do you know what I mean by that? You're a patriot only when, you know, it's easy and times are good and all the patriots are out in the sun enjoying it. But when times are tough, are you still a patriot? Are you still in the trenches? Because you got to be both. A lot of us, a lot of people are of that sunshine variety. But, right, people develop the courage and the inspiration from others when they see them doing it, right? So, and that's the thing, it's like not getting soured by past events about how, you know, your preconceived notion of how things might turn out, right? And stay in the present with whatever is taking place right now, and look to those places like the United States right now, like to people that are exhibiting that freedom, of that inspiration, of that empowerment, of that, right, of that, like everything that I'm talking about, and grabbing that energy and moving forward with it yourself in whatever way, small and big, doesn't matter. We need to listen to the calling that's within us right now, because we're all awakening to that part within ourselves, right? And it's super important. It's actually what's really shifting things, and really is the saving grace, and is going to save the day. Okay, so that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.